It feels like kind of a letdown to deploy our contract to Rinkeby, but then not really be able to interact with it in a meaningful way. So in this video, I'm going to show you a very easy way that you can interact with your contracts immediately after deploying them without having to make some fancy web front end or anything like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to grab my contract address right here. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to flip on over to my browser. I'm then going to open up the Remix tool again. If you have closed Remix, remember you can get to it at remix.ethereum.org. Now when you first load Remix back up, it should be auto-saving the contract that we had been working on, but if it did not automatically save the inbox contract, then you can always flip back over to your code editor, open up our contract file, copy all this, and put it back into Remix. So make sure that you do have your contract in here because that is important for the next step that we're going to use. All right, I'm going to flip on over to the Run tab right here. We've been using Remix up to this point to run our code on a test local network that exists only inside the browser. However, Remix can also be used to connect to actual Ethereum networks and interact with deployed contracts. So up at the top right-hand side up here, you'll see Environment. We're going to want to open up this dropdown and select Injected Web 3. Injected Web 3 is an instance of Web 3 that has been injected into this web page by the MetaMask extension. So this is a version of Web 3 that has already been configured to not only connect to the Rinkeby test network, but it also has direct access to all of our accounts. So the accounts that have been logged into or have been authorized inside of MetaMask. We can then verify that this is successfully connected to MetaMask by selecting our account from this account dropdown right here. So this is definitely my account, CF0, and it has 21 Ether, and I can verify that inside of MetaMask right here. So CF0, and I have 21 Ether. So this is definitely it. Now that we have selected the Rinkeby network and our account, we can interact with our deployed contract directly from Remix. So yes, it is an awesome tool. I love Remix personally. You can do a lot of neat things with it. To interact with our deployed version of this contract, rather than using the create button right here, we are going to paste in our address that we got from the terminal. So this is the address for my deployed contract that we just deployed back here. So it's this address right here. I can then click on @address right here, and that will give us a handle on our deployed instance of the contract. So this is our deployed inbox contract right here, and we can interact with it just the same way that we were before by clicking on these buttons. Now before, when we were interacting with our contract, you will recall that any time we wanted to write some data to our inbox contract, it was an instantaneous process. So we were able to set a new message in there. We could add a new message and then click on the button and poof, instantly we got a new message set. But remember that very long video that we watched we went through a long time ago where I'd said that on real networks, it takes around 15 to 30 seconds to actually get confirmation of changes to our data. And so now that we're not using this local test network in the browser, anytime we want to change data tied to our contract, because remember, anytime we are changing data inside of a contract, we have to send a transaction. It takes some amount of time to be processed. So now that we are working with our real contract, we have to wait a long time for our message to be updated because we really are sending a transaction to the network that is targeting our contract and attempting to modify that contract's data. So we can very easily see this in action. When we click on message right here, that is a call. And calls are instantaneous. So we very quickly get a response back that says the current value is hi there. And we can see some details about that transaction in the log, or excuse me, that call here inside the log. However, if we add a new message to this thing, so I'll say bye, and then click set message. So this is interesting, isn't it? So this is the first time we've seen this window right here. We are now attempting to submit a transaction to the Rinkeby test network to modify some data that exists in a contract. Remember, that is an operation that costs money. So we are spending Ether just to update the data inside of our contract. whenever we attempt to send some money through one of our accounts tied to MetaMask, we get this MetaMask notification. And it says, hey, the current web page that you are on is attempting to use some money out of your account. So in this case, it says that our account 1 with this address and this much Ether is attempting to send some amount of Ether over to this target address over here. And this is the address of our deployed contract. In this case, updating the set message property right here is going to cost about 0.0003 Ether, or about 26 cents. So we have to actually submit this transaction. We have to confirm this transaction in order to update some data tied to our contract. I'm going to click submit, and then we're going to have to wait those 30 seconds or so to eventually get receipt of the transaction. And something that says, hey, yep, this has been included in the blockchain. We now have a new value for set message. So at this point, we can click message right here, and you're going to notice that it still says hi there. Now I just got a little pop-up over here. This is the receipt of the update for the message property. So if I click on message now, I will see that value update over to buy. And so in action, this is a great example of how we have to wait some amount of time to write data to our contract, and also how we have to spend some money just to update any data related to our contract. All right, so this has been, I'm really happy with this example because I feel like it really brings all these topics full circle and gives you a good sense of how MetaMask, it ties in, and the differences between calling a function versus sending a transaction to a function, how we have to wait for data to be persisted to the blockchain, and just all that kind of stuff. So I feel like this has been a good review on many topics, but we've covered so much content in this last section around setting up this application that I want to continue in the next video and do a quick review on some of the big highlights of what we've achieved so far. So let's take care of that review in the next video.